What do you picture when you think of a successful CEO? A visionary on a stage in a black turtleneck, effortlessly changing the world? A genius with a perfect, elegant plan that unfolds exactly as they predicted? That's the myth. That's the fantasy. The reality is something much darker, much harder, and much more lonely. The reality is waking up in a cold sweat at 3 a.m. wondering how you're going to make payroll. The reality is having to lay off people you care about, people who trusted you. The reality is watching your company, your dream, spiral towards bankruptcy, while the entire world is telling you that you are a failure. Ben Horowitz's The Hard Thing About Hard Things is not another cheerful book about how to be a great leader. It is a book about how to survive when you are a terrible leader, when your company is on the brink of collapse, and when you discover that there are no easy answers. This is not a collection of motivational platitudes. It is a brutally honest, deeply philosophical, and incredibly practical field guide to the struggle. The lonely, terrifying, and necessary journey of anyone who dares to build something new in the world. Embracing the struggle. The first and most important philosophical concept in the entire book is what Horowitz calls the struggle. The struggle is not a single event. It is a state of being. It's the period when you are questioning why you ever thought starting a company was a good idea. It's when the dream you had has turned into a nightmare. Horowitz speaks from a place of deep personal experience. The book is built around the harrowing story of his own time as the CEO of a company called LoudCloud, which later became Opsware. He became a CEO right as the dot-com bubble of the early 2000s burst. He took his company public in the middle of a massive stock market crash. He watched his company's value plummet from billions of dollars to almost nothing. He had to lay off hundreds of his employees. He was facing bankruptcy, lawsuits, and the constant crushing feeling that he was failing everyone who had ever believed in him. This was his struggle. And the hard thing about this hard thing, he explains, is that there is no formula for it. There is no recipe in a business book that can tell you how to navigate your own unique, contextual, and terrifying crisis. The easy things are the things you can learn in school: how to read a balance sheet, how to create a marketing plan. The hard things are the things that have no right answer. The hard thing is firing a loyal executive who has been with you from the beginning but is no longer the right person for the job. The hard thing is watching your competitors raise hundreds of millions of dollars while you are running out of cash. The hard thing is having to tell your entire company that you have missed your sales forecast and that the future is uncertain. The first step to surviving the struggle, Horowitz argues, is to embrace it. It is to accept that this is the real work of leadership. The job is not to avoid the hard things, the job is to do the hard things. And the only way to do that is to be brutally, relentlessly honest with yourself and with your team. One of the most powerful mental models in the entire book is the distinction between a peacetime CEO and a wartime CEO. Horowitz argues that these are two fundamentally different leadership styles, and the most critical skill of any leader is to know which time you are in and to be able to act accordingly. A peacetime CEO is the leader of a company that is in a strong position. You have a large market share, you are growing, and the competition is not an existential threat. In peacetime, the CEO can focus on expanding the company's potential. They can encourage creativity, empower their employees to experiment, and foster a culture of open, bottom-up communication. The style is collaborative and expansive. A wartime CEO, on the other hand, is the leader of a company that is fighting for its very survival. You are fending off a fierce competitor, or you are navigating a brutal market collapse, or you are facing a potentially company-killing lawsuit. In wartime, the CEO's focus is not on long-term potential, it is on immediate survival. The leadership style must change dramatically. The wartime CEO is, by necessity, much more of a commander than a collaborator. They have to make decisions quickly, often with incomplete information. They have to give direct, unambiguous orders. They have to be, in Horowitz's words, borderline dictatorial. They must create a culture of discipline and focus where every single person is aimed at a single, clear objective: winning the war. This is a difficult and controversial idea. The modern, enlightened view of leadership is all about the peacetime virtues of empowerment and consensus. But Horowitz argues, from his own brutal experience, that when your company is on fire, you don't have time to build consensus about which fire extinguisher to use. The leader has to grab an extinguisher and start putting out the fire, and they have to command everyone else to do the same. The great tragedy is that most leaders are only good at one of these styles. A great peacetime CEO can be a terrible wartime CEO, and vice versa. They might be too slow to act in a crisis, or they might be too controlling and paranoid in a time of peace. The true mark of a great leader, he argues, is the ability to recognize what time it is, and to have the psychological flexibility to adopt the right style for the moment, even if it feels unnatural. The hard thing about hard things is so powerful because it is not just about managing a company, it is about managing yourself. Horowitz is brutally honest about the immense and often invisible psychological burden of being a leader, especially a leader in the struggle. He describes the intense loneliness of the CEO position. When things are going wrong, there is often no one you can talk to. You can't share your deepest fears with your employees because you will cause a panic. You can't always share them with your board of directors, who might fire you, and you can't always share them with your spouse, because you don't want to burden them with the full, terrifying weight of your anxiety. It is, he says, a profoundly lonely job. The book is a masterclass in the practical psychology of survival. He gives direct, actionable advice on how to manage the constant, overwhelming fear. One of his key insights is to share as much information as you can. It's a counterintuitive idea. When things are bad, our instinct is to hide the truth to prevent a panic. But Horowitz argues that this is a mistake. Your employees are not stupid. They can feel when things are wrong. And in the absence of information, they will fill the vacuum with their own, far more terrifying rumors. Transparency, he argues, builds trust. When you are honest with your team about the challenges you are facing, you are treating them like adults. You are making them partners in the solution. He says that one of the most important things a leader can do is to share the bad news, and to share it clearly and quickly. He also talks about the importance of having a network of other leaders you can talk to, people who have also been through the struggle, and who can understand the unique pressures of the job. But his most profound advice is simple: don't quit. There is always a next move. The key is to stop focusing on the overwhelming, terrifying big picture, and to focus only on the one single tactical move you can make right now to improve your situation, even if it's just by a tiny amount. It is a deeply stoic philosophy of focusing only on what you can control in this present moment. Hard-won wisdom, a toolkit for the trenches. Beyond the high-level philosophy, the book is packed with specific, brutally practical advice for the hard things that leaders have to do every day. This is not theoretical management advice. This is a toolkit forged in the fire of real-world crises. He provides a powerful and deeply humane philosophy of firing people. He argues that the way you fire someone is a direct reflection of your company's culture. He gives practical advice on how to do it with respect: be clear, be direct, and own the decision. He also gives a brilliant piece of advice for firing a loyal, high-level executive. He says you should let the executive write the script for how their departure is announced to the company so they can preserve their dignity and their reputation. He offers a philosophy of hiring, arguing that you should hire for strength, not for a lack of weakness. Every candidate has weaknesses. The key is to find the person whose specific strengths are exactly what your company needs at this particular moment in time. He also provides a detailed guide to what he believes is the single most important management tool: the one-on-one meeting. A good one-on-one meeting, he says, is not a status report from the employee to the manager. It is the employee's meeting. It is their time to ask questions, to raise concerns, and to give feedback to their manager. It is the best and most efficient way to keep the lines of communication open and to catch small problems before they become big ones. And he gives a brutally honest philosophy of feedback. He says that the number one most screwed up thing in most companies is that managers are too scared to give their employees direct, honest, and sometimes critical feedback. We think we are being nice by avoiding these difficult conversations. But Horowitz argues that this is actually a form of cruelty. If an employee has a problem, and you don't tell them about it, you are robbing them of the opportunity to improve. And then when you eventually have to fire them for that very problem, it will come as a complete and total shock. Being a good manager is not about being liked, it's about being effective. And being effective requires the courage to have honest conversations. The final hard thing: there is no formula. After pages and pages of brilliant, specific advice, Horowitz ends the book with the final and most important hard thing about hard things, and that is this: there is no formula, there is no recipe, there is no silver bullet. Every single situation a leader faces is a unique, complex, and contextual mess. The advice that works for one company might be a disaster for another. The leadership style that works in one moment might be a catastrophe in the next. The ultimate lesson of the book is a philosophy of radical responsibility. In the end, as a leader, you are on your own. All you can do is absorb as much knowledge as you can, listen to as many different perspectives as you can, and then you have to make the call. You have to take the information, and you have to make a decision, and you have to live with the consequences. This is what makes leadership so hard, and it is also what makes it so meaningful. The Hard Thing About Hard Things is one of the most empowering and inspiring business books ever written, precisely because it is so relentlessly honest. It doesn't sell you a fantasy of easy, visionary success. It tells you the unvarnished truth about the brutal, lonely, and terrifying reality of the struggle, and in doing so, it pays you the ultimate compliment. It respects you enough to know that you can handle it. It is a profound inquiry into the nature of courage. If you are a person who is not afraid to look at the hard truths of leadership and of life, then you are in the right place. Welcome to Geeky Philosopher. Subscribe, and let's continue to explore the real-world philosophy of the struggle together.